Hi, my name is Spencer Liu, and today I'm going to talk with you about what is a traditional 401k. Basically, it's a retirement plan that's set up by your employer, and so if you're currently working somewhere and they don't have one of these, you might just want to check with them and find out if they're looking into it. They're not that expensive to set up or administer, so it'd be a benefit for you and also the employer. What it allows you to do is put away money on a pre-tax basis, and that money that you put away pre-tax grows tax deferred. So basically it's a way for you to set aside money for retirement that's pre-tax, growing tax deferred, which means more of your money is working for you. Plus there's a bonus, free money. And I'm going to talk about this more in detail later. So pre-tax, tax-deferred growth sounds great, but why else should I contribute? Well, I just received my Social Security statement not too long ago, and it says that in 2016, Social Security will start to pay out more than it's taking in. And what this means is, again, right off the statement, it means in 2037, the Social Security Trust is going to be exhausted. Well, that's not a real big confidence builder, considering that right now, Social Security for most people, and again, your situation may vary, but for most people, Social Security covers about 40% of what they need in retirement. So the rest of that, 60%, is going to come from you. And so you need to take advantage of programs like this to help you fulfill that 60% or more that we're going to need to cover ourselves when we retire. You also might be wondering, when should I start? Well, let's just take a look at investing $100 a month at different stages of life, starting at these different ages. And so if we start at 55, invest $100 a month until we're age 65, we've invested $12,000. Assuming an 8% annual rate of return, we would have earned about $18,000 at 65. Let's just start 10 years earlier at 45 and $100 a month till age 65. We would have invested $24,000, and that would be worth about $59,000. Well, that's better. Well, if we start at age 35 and we invest till age 65, $100 a month, we've invested $36,000, and that would be worth about $150,000. And you might be thinking, wow, the difference between these two is I've only invested $12,000 more, but the difference here is almost 3 times. This is almost 3 times greater. Well, the reason is compound interest. And I've done another piece on that, so you can take a look at that and learn more about it. But basically, the earlier you start, the better off you are. So you should be starting now if you can. So where's the free money? Well, here's the free money, and that's matching. So matching is the free money. Now, it's not quite free because there is a vesting schedule which gives you ownership. But let me just run through an example with you. So let's say you make $40,000 per year, and a typical matching contribution is 3%. So let's say you put in 3% of your salary, which is $1,200. The employer also contributes 3% or $1,200 to the plan on your behalf, but it's tied to what's called a vesting schedule. And this one's a 5-year. Most of them tend to be around 3 years, but you'll have to check with your company to see. Some don't have a vesting schedule at all. You're immediately vested. But basically how a vesting schedule works is each year that you work for the company, you get more ownership of what they put in for you. Key thing to remember is what you contribute is always 100% vested. This only applies, this vesting schedule only applies to what the employer puts in for you. So in this 5-year schedule, each year you just get 20% more. So after 1 year of service, 20%, 2 years, 40%, 3 years, 60%, 4 years, 80%, and 5 years, 100%. So let's say this is the vesting schedule and you've been at your employer longer than the vesting schedule. Any dollar they put in for you is yours should you leave. So effectively, if you're not participating in this plan, you're letting the employer get away with not paying you a benefit that they should, but again, you have to contribute in order to get it. So if you're not contributing, take a look and see if there's a matching contribution by your employer. If there is, I would encourage you to at least put in enough to get the matching contribution so you won't leave this free money on the table. So you're excited to get going. Pre-tax contributions, tax-deferred growth. You know Social Security isn't going to be there for you. You're excited about getting the matching contribution, but you just opened up the investment portion and there's a lot of options and you have no idea where to put it. Well, the best thing to do is there's usually a questionnaire, and what this questionnaire does is it basically checks two things. It checks your risk tolerance and it checks your time horizon. And your time horizon. And based on those two things, it will put you into an asset allocation model. And it usually has some portion of stocks, bonds, and whatever other investments they offer. So this is really probably the best way for you to go about figuring out where to invest is by taking the questionnaire, figuring out your risk tolerance, your time horizon, and then choosing one of these asset allocation models. One thing to remember is not to let your risk tolerance be determined by the current market conditions. I see a lot of people that seem to have a lot more risk tolerance when the market's up and a lot less risk tolerance when the market's down. That's the wrong way to invest. And another wrong thing to do is you might see a fund that has 100% return in 1 year. And you might be tempted to put all of your money into that particular investment because it did well that year. Well, unfortunately, the next year, these funds usually go down, and they don't do 100% year after year. So again, best thing to do, fill out the questionnaire, stick with your asset allocation model, and you should be fine. You might also be wondering when you can take your money out. Well, these are the 3 most common instances, but again, it depends on your plan, so you'll have to check with your human resources department. But basically, if you separate from service, you have the option to take your money out or roll it into another plan. There's a hardship withdrawal provision, and there's also a loan provision. Now, with the separation from service or the hardship withdrawal, if you're under the age of 59 and a half, you may get hit with a 10% penalty plus taxes on the amount that you take out. So it's really better to save this money for retirement and let it continue to grow and just access it when you need it at retirement. And the same goes with the loan. The loan's a nice feature to have, but again, this is kind of the last source of money if you need it. So don't tap it if you don't have to, but if you have to, there usually are these 3 options. Well, thanks for watching my explanation of traditional 401ks. I hope you enjoyed it. Please take a moment to read these important disclosures. I'm Spencer Liu, the Finance Guy.